Hi, this is Aidan Sullivan, Vice President of Photo Assignments for Getty Images. Thanks for joining us today. Behind every image there's a story, whether that story is told by a Getty Images photographer, filmmaker, or editor. One constant remains: the passion we all share for all types of imagery. For the second podcast in our ongoing series, we take you to Beijing, China, home of the 2008 Summer Olympics. Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Getty Images, Jonathan Klein, talks with award-winning sports photographer Adam Pretty as he prepares to capture the world's greatest athletes in action. Sports photography as a genre has developed significantly over the years. Not only do these photographers possess remarkable technical skills, but a deep knowledge of the sports they cover that enable them to create and capture near-perfect imagery that has arguably become an art form in itself.
Well, firstly, Adam, thanks for taking time out of your busy day learning Chinese to do this podcast with us. How did you become interested in photography to begin with?
I think maybe I was a bit stupid and young when I got interested in it, and so that's probably why I made a career of it. When I was at school, I saw an exhibition when I think I was about 16 or 15, and just saw an exhibition on sports photography, and pretty much straight away I knew that was what I wanted to do.
So did somebody give you a camera? Did you buy one, or did you steal one? You can tell me, I'm a doctor.
We had a cool next-door neighbour, and he had a laundromat business, and he had these like white rags, and he said, "Oh, you know what, Adam, if you want to try and sell these, you can." So basically I just sold a garage full of white rags, and then I had a lot of money, so I thought, I'll buy a camera. And that was how I got my first sort of camera.
Were you into sport before you were into photography then?
I was into, pretty much every sort of sport that wasn't impact sport, just because my mum would never let me play any sport that was really dangerous.
It seems then that you kind of fell into it through sport and a passion for it, but you didn't really think about it as a job.
There is parts where it is a job now, but I'd still say it's a passion, and that's what got me into it initially. It still hasn't clicked that it's actually a job, because I love what I do. And there's moments where it's tough and you're sort of slogging it out, but most of the time you're just thinking about your next picture after you've taken one already, so it just keeps you really fired up.
We've got to talk about the Olympics. In short, is it your favourite event to shoot?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's really sort of love-hate. Like, I would never want to miss it out, but it's one of the hardest things you'll do as well. But as far as shooting anything, I mean, there's 50 million things going on at once, and you can just totally get immersed in sport for, 2.5 weeks. And so, it definitely would be the favourite, just because the variety of things you can shoot in a short space of time is, amazing. Like, it's a sports photographer's dream. It's a total break from reality. That was the other thing I was going to talk about with the Olympics. I think because you're not sleeping much, I don't know if you make the best memories. Like sometimes you'll see a picture published, you go, that's quite a nice shot. Then you look at it, oh, Adam Pretty, like, oh, wow, okay.
Is there one Olympic moment which stands out in your mind from all the various games?
I think my first Olympics was I've got the most memories from. The first day almost, I was photographing the triathlon in Sydney Harbour, and that was like the sort of the marquee event launching the Sydney Games, just because I had the Opera House and Harbour Bridge was in the background. So I shot the triathlon in the water, and I remember I asked that guy 2 days before the Olympic Games started if I could get in the water, and luckily it was an Australian venue manager, and he goes, "Oh, yeah?" He goes, "Yeah, you can swim, can't you, mate?" And I was like, yeah, I can swim quite well. That was almost all it took. And I was out there swimming around with the athletes on the first day of the Olympic Games, like at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Was that when you first became obsessed with taking photos in water, through water, underwater, from the water? I
would have been maybe obsessed a little bit before, but then I thought, it's a great opportunity to do something different that sort of a lot of other people aren't doing. Maybe you don't nail the shot, but at least you have something different, and the 4,000 other people aren't going to have that. And I think that's where I guess water became more of a passion, was because a lot of guys can't do that or won't do that. And, it's a way of differentiating yourself from the rest of the pack.
Others, Adam, have tried to, do the same thing in a number of ways, but you really did blaze a trail in that regard.
I love water sports, It's just because it is unpredictable, and the water and the light is really magical, at least for me anyway, just because you cannot predict what's going to happen no matter how long you've been doing it.
Do you define synchronized swimming as a water sport?
But yes.
It's very difficult, I understand.
And don't be knocking. I did a shoot with the Chinese synchronized swimming team. After photographing those girls, I did a picture with them after, and they all came in and sort of held on to me, which was tough. But I remember as I went down, I sunk down, and they sort of held on to me, and I'm like, oh, I've got to get up, And they basically almost drowned me just from like the 10 or 15 seconds. I don't know how long they held me under.
The shot of the divers in Barcelona, that is an unbelievable photo. It is, to a lot of people, the Barcelona games. Tell us a bit about that photo, because it's extraordinary, and any other photographer could have got into the same position. I mean, and shot it, but they didn't.
I was fortunate enough to go and do the World Swimming Champs in Barcelona, and got off the plane. I had sort of mega bad jet lag, so I went up to the pool, and it was stinking hot. I got there, and they were the divers were training, and I sat down and just started shooting pictures, going, wow, this is amazing. And then I saw this bird sort of fly up from the city below. I thought, oh, that might be good. So I sat down there, and probably after about 2.5, 3 hours of shooting 4 million digital pictures, those two birds took off, and fortunately they were diving at the same time. I think one of my other shots I really like is a skiing shot with a guy just sort of caught up in like a plume of snow going down, and that was like another nightmare of a day where I had nothing basically until like the last possible moment.
A shot that resonates with a lot of people is a signature shot of Sharapova, one of the most photographed women on earth. I can't understand why. And that shot of her with her fists up, it's become almost an iconic shot of her. Is there a story behind that one?
That was when you were training me, Jonathan.
I did tell you how difficult it is to make the background black. How were you able to do it?
Just backlit, really hard. And that's it's shot sort of from a low angle on the side of the court and into like a very underexposed background.
Now that's a jubilation shot, of course. What do you prefer? What's a more interesting image? Total despair, focusing on the losers, because that's one of the great things about sport. It's unequivocal. People lose and people win. And what's more interesting, the despair or the jubilation and the victory?
I think for me, I think despair is almost more interesting, just because usually when that happens, the person has no regard for the camera at all, because all they're thinking about is losing. Whereas a winner from today's media, they're expected to go and show off in front of the cameras and do this, do that. And so it's almost like it's put on for you. And, the professional sportsmen, they want to get their sort of head around and scream for the cameras, that sort of thing. Whereas the loser, all they're thinking about is they've lost. And so you can totally be a fly on the wall. And I think you can get more sort of genuine emotion and raw emotion there.
Tell me a little bit about awards and what you feel about them.
Well, I think as a young photographer, I think they're quite important. And I mean, that's why I was so fortunate, is to win awards. But just the fact of looking at your whole work for the year and entering an award, I think makes you a better photographer, because then you can see where you are. You can assess yourself for that year. What have I done? Have I wasted time at work that year, or have you achieved something? As far as getting noticed as a young photographer, if you're producing great work and it wins an award, it's going to be up there and people are going to see it. That's why I'm really grateful to have been recognised with awards.
I think it's terrific, and I think that the way you've recognised how to help to launch you is amazing. I think listening to you now and actually listening to what you've said throughout the podcast, I'm sure that people would come to the same conclusion as I have, looking at your work and listening to you, that your greatest work is still ahead of you, and I could see amazing stuff coming. And I'm just going to wrap up by saying thanks so much, Adam, and keep well, and thanks again.
Thank you, John, and thank you very much for everything as well.